arting opportunities that are happening in the city,
Right.
with the fact that it's beautiful weather outside and you decided to come inside and join us. Really, we appreciate that. That means a lot to me as a gallerist. It also means a lot to Milton.
Yep.
Every time you choose to come out, because it says that you know, value and appreciate the work. And I can't even begin to tell you how meaningful that is and how it encourages us, you know, to just to keep doing the thing and keep going on. So thank you so much. I'm Sandra Heath, co-founder of Heath Gallery along with my husband and director of Heath Gallery. We've been here since 2002. We are a family-owned operation. I have two daughters who usually are here supporting with operations and other things, but they can't be here today. And I'm really excited to have this conversation with Mr. Milton Washington. You know, I think most of you in the room, is that true? Do all of you know him? Yeah. Oh, well, that's great.
Well, we know, yeah, we just met. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Well, that's good to know because then we might have a different kind of, you know, conversation. Yeah. But I first encountered Milton a few years ago. I don't know how long ago, but I first encountered him at Cafe Latte. And I was really struck, you know, that's a, you know, restaurant I frequent. I was really struck when I walked in and saw the work and the series were people that were familiar, not all of them, a lot of them, but you know, the way they looked, how powerful they looked, how you really captured the strength of who they were, and just the beauty of the photography, period. And then sometime after, I encountered his work on the street, these beautiful portraits just sitting on the street, no name attached to them, no indication that they were attached to any particular space. And it's like, you know, what's going on here? But I loved it and always imagined seeing his work in my space. And so it just, you know, happened that we were able to do that. So I'm really excited to showcase Milton, really excited to have this conversation. And we're going to do things a little differently today. You know, typically in one of these talks, I, as the gallerist, ask Milton a bunch of questions, he responds, and then we open the floor up for you to ask questions. The important thing is I'm going to open the floor for you to ask Milton questions, but given what's happening in this country with erasure and marginalization and our stories being told by other people, I think I want to start this conversation with you starting out, you directly telling your story, you know, you directly telling us what it is that you want us to know about the artwork and about your art practice, a little bit of your journey, and then I will fill in with some questions that I have, and then we'll open the floor, and we'll see how that goes. I mean, this is not how we typically do it, but I think Milton and I are open to co-creating, you know, with you things in the moment. So, you know, let's do that. And again, welcome, welcome, welcome. And if I can just do this, you know, Rob, maybe it will be helpful to kind of pull some, if you don't mind, to just kind of put some chairs out. And if you all would move just a little bit closer to make it easier for, you know, folks coming in to just grab a chair and get started. And one of the things that you should know for those who are just coming, that Milton's work is captured by iPhone. All the work is captured by his iPhone, and we can just get rid of this. Is this in your way? Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So
yeah.
drum beat.
Yeah. First of all, thank you, Sandra, for being, you know, an institution in the neighborhood and seeing value in my work and giving me this opportunity. Really appreciate it. You know, one of the things that I just love about you and your family and your operation is it's just good vibes. You know, when we were working together, I was kind of behind the gun on many things, but it's rare when you run into somebody who can exhibit such grace under seemingly all kind of circumstances. So I really appreciate it, and I feel a kinship to you in that way. But yeah, I'm Milton, and yeah, I shoot on iPhone. For the longest time, I thought that when I saw photographic work, I always just thought, I'm like, I can do better than that. That's just was my feeling. But I had never had a camera, and I took a class in high school, senior in high school. So, and that was back in '89. But it was a situation in which it was just a filler class for me. I was just trying to graduate. But I always used to sketch. I think I painted a little bit, but I was really more into kind of sketching and drawing. But I never really, I guess, fully considered myself like a working artist, having a studio and all that, because art and sketching was just something that I really enjoyed doing. But I felt that I could tell a story. I felt like I had stories to tell because, I don't know, maybe everybody feels like this, but I've always felt that I've lived a pretty exciting life, done a lot of things, lots of risky behavior when I was a kid and beyond. But I've always had this kind of desire to tell a story. And then especially because from what I come from, I knew at a very young age that my particular story was a very powerful story to most people's ears. And so powerful that throughout the years, I saw many people change some behavior as a result of a story I told them. Because many would come back and say, Milton, you said that thing, and because you said that thing, and I did this thing, so I had a lot of, kind of confirmation on the power of my story. So, and I think part of the reason that story has always been powerful is because in many ways it is very unique. They say there's no new stories under the sun. This is not a new story, but it is a story that you really don't hear much because it's about a black kid born in South Korea because of U.S. militarism. My mother was not only a Korean woman, but also in the sex game. She was what's called a mama-san. She was a boss. She was a madam. And I saw her doing this work, from 6 to 8 years old. Because prior to that, we were in the village, third world Korea, and I think I remember being born because I have a memory that I was hanging over my mother's open stomach because she had a cesarean with me. But I remember I have many memories of me being very, very young and just being super aware of my surroundings. And my surroundings was, a world that really felt some kind of way about me and felt some kind of way about my mother for having me. When I came to New York, I started writing a memoir, and I learned how to write. And the first words of the memoir is, "One singing anangin apage." That's the part of the song that they sang to me the loudest. The part about the black monkey's butt being red. Because, my childhood in South Korea, in that Korean village, all these other Korean people and Korean kids who I wanted to just play with told me that I was worthless. You know, but I guess I was never really good at listening. I didn't believe that because I was a little boy built like this compared to little Korean kids. You know, I was the only one out there built like a superhero. Yeah. So I'm like, something ain't right. And my mother always told me that they were just jealous of me. Yeah. And that logic made sense. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I never really got stung so hard from that situation. It hurt me because I just wanted to play. Mm-hmm. Because part of the reason I wanted to play because I knew I was better than them. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to flex on them, mm-hmm. you know? But I just wanted to play because I knew that I was a good person. Mm-hmm. And I knew that whatever this was, this blackness was a good thing. Mm-hmm. And like, you know, I could be number one here. You know, I could run us around and we could really have some dope adventures. You know, but they wouldn't let me play and I got rejection not only from the kids, but, you know, the whole village. You know, and this is a village with a clay roof, clay walls, thatch roof, and no cars, no electricity, you know, and it smelled like manure all day, every day. And then it wasn't until my mother and I got kicked out of the village and then we moved to a town called Dongducheon, which is what's called a camp town, which is around a military base. And I was 6 years old and I saw my first black person ever in life. And I knew it. And I knew I was right. You know, because to a little boy, you know, a black man that stood strong, to us, number one, when they spoke, it sounded like they sang. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And even my adopted brother, Joe, even though we came from two different parts of Korea, when we got together, our mimicking black soldiers was exactly the same. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But it's very lyrical. And, you know, singing and talking versus just talking quietly, like what's more exciting to a kid? You know? Mm-hmm. And we thought that black soldiers, we would always look at their feet when they were walking because we didn't think their feet actually touched the ground. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Because they literally looked like they were floating to us. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So
was this when they were marching or just
no,
walking?
Just walking, mm-hmm. just, you know, just walking like, yeah, what up, man? You know, so they sang when they spoke, they floated when they walked, and their body seemed superior mm-hmm, mm-hmm. to their white counterparts in the eyes of little boys, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. right? So when I saw black soldiers, I'm like, I knew it. I knew I was the shit. that's you know, I didn't say that, of course, you know, I was still speaking Korean. You know,
did you recognize an affinity?
Yeah, I recognized, I'm like, I knew that I was right, and I've been fixated on us black folks ever since. Yeah. You know, because it was a homecoming for me, and it was an affirmation of what I always knew in, you know, in the face of all that injustice. Yeah, yeah. You know, which is kind of the condition of blackness around the world. You know, we don't get the props that we deserve. Yeah. You know, but I also knew, but I learned, I'm like, there's something wrong here, kind of interesting. I'm like, this whole society doesn't like me. Yeah. Like I knew what that felt like. Mm-hmm. So my plan was, I'm going to get to America. I started asking my mother about my father. She said that he was in America. And to us, you know, in 74, 75, 76, we thought America was gold cities that floated in the clouds with mountains made out of ice cream with flying cars everywhere.
For real?
Like for real. That's what we thought. Like that was it. That was the rendering. And it was a bunch of fat people in America because this is it. Because Americans eat. Yeah. We don't. You know? So the, you know, America was a land of plenty. You know, and fatness was almost a status of wealth. We thought everybody in America and anything American was worth big money on the black market in South Korea. So the plan was, I'm going to get to America because this place doesn't like me. I'm going to get to America. I'm going to find my dad. And then when I find my dad, I'm going to get him back together with my mother. And I'm going to be a little fat boy flying in the back of one of those flying cars. So that was the plan. And I knew that in this hostile world in which I seem to have no value, I got to change my world.
I want to pause there for a moment just to exhale from, from that incredible beginning and the weight of a young boy feeling the weight of being rejected by a whole culture, not an individual, by a whole culture everywhere you looked. And I want to fast forward and ask you how that has informed your photography, how that has informed your even the I just lost the word, the construction of your photography, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Can you speak to that for a minute?
Yeah, first of all, there's the informed part and there's the construction part. I'll start with the construction part. One thing that I didn't tell you, which helped me understand my value even in those hostile situations, I felt superior. I knew I was kind of bigger, stronger, faster than my competition, right? But the other way that I kind of knew that I had a lot of value is, what they would do, when you're in the country, you make all your toys, right? So they wouldn't let me play with them. So what I would do is I would just make my toys,
And what kind of toys?
Well, first of all, you got gungis. Gungis is like jacks, but you just got 5, well shaped little rocks that you play like jacks. Okay. You don't make that, but you find the perfect rocks, and you have 5 gungis, and you compete with others. But then you also have what's called dakjis. Dakjis is with paper, you fold up into a little square, and you have a playing piece in which the competition is you throw it on the ground and you try to flip your opponent's dakji, and you take their dakji. And if you make a dakji and this thing has been winning and someone wins it from you, it could be traumatic to a little boy. Like, it's serious.
Okay.
It's a game, and you walk around with a little pouch of them. And when somebody, it's like, the old Western, you do like this, and, and it's this thing, boom, boom, and, there's these rules, and, I speak about it in the writings quite a bit. To kites, we used to find the sticks, use rice for glue, and go get rice paper from the town, and you make a kite and you start flying it. My kites were always better. They just were. So my creations were always better. And so you just kind of have to imagine when your world is telling you ain't shit, but your creations are, when I say better, they aesthetically looked better, and I think they were mathematically sound. So balance was good, the geometry was good, and so I've always had this relationship with math, especially around my art. Math is an articulation of nature, and so I always kind of look to nature in that way. And so going into kind of the creations and kind of how I see, I look for good math.
Break that down for us when
you're
thinking about looking for a camera. Break that down for
like even in this piece right here, right? Just the texture, it's the symmetry, or deliberate missymmetry, right? But, and then there's, you could look at her and, it's kind of cool because she's got this leg kind of kicked off to the side, but, I remember, because my girlfriend co-produced this shoot with me, and I remember when we were coming back, she spoke about this shot because she goes, your direction for her to have her hand out flat made the shot. Because of the overall math, there's something settling with that line right here and with the hands out right there and the weight that it provides on the paper and just what it does to the eye. It makes her look more aligned, even though that this foot is out. And you get the support with not only the textured background, but with these lines going this way. That's got to be right in order to be weighted properly. And I think when you're using, the math that I see, when you're using that math, it allows it to just resonate without even thinking about it. And stories start to pop up in the minds and in the hearts of folks just because the math is right. So I always just say that, when you're creating something, try to align it with nature. Try to connect it with, and you got nature within you. You got nature around you. And just try to find that alignment. So that's a piece. Lisa Jessie Peterson back there when she's squatting right there, because we were on a pretty hard slope, like a steep hill. But just then those vertical lines, the texture that it provides, the math that it provides, the contrast that it provides. This man and woman sitting down, when I asked to shoot them because I was in Industry City in Brooklyn and we were on a film set, and to have he's got the hat on, she's got the hair, to have them look in opposite direction. In opposite directions, I think it does it. And the way that they were just kind of casually kind of sitting. And then to do that, the math just works. How much weight is on the paper in terms of the subject and the background. These are all kind of different little things that I think of, as I formulate a shot.
So when you think, when you're speaking of math, is it what we might call composition, or is it composition plus? Is it, when I think of math, I think of numbers. Yeah. Is that what's included when you're looking? Is there a numerical reference also that's happening when you're looking at this?
I think that if you were to be able to get some tool to be able to analyze structurally, like I said, weight on paper. Yeah. There's other the shapes and forms. Yeah. Mathematically will be pretty sound. I'm just talking. I don't know this. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I'm just.
We're with you.
Yeah. Like I said, I don't know this. It may be completely off. Yeah. But that's part of the math of it.
It also feels like what you're describing is what I learned very formally in photography of like how you frame things, but you came to it through your own intuition and eye.
And I always just kind of say, my relationship with math. Yeah. I know what appeals to me, and like many of us, we just got done with doing Rock Mill Fitness, and I used to shoot it all the time. When I first started up in Sugar Hill, and we used to have a camera, and we used to move people to their respective spaces because, the math of that makes for a great video or not so great video. Yeah. So I trust my eyes' input to go, yeah, this feels right.
Got it. Got it.
You know, and not only, you know, this eye, you know, but my emotional eye. And, you know, like I said, I really don't consider myself a photographer. You know, I don't care about the camera, but I know how to tell a story.
So I want to take that, what you just said, telling the story, and think about, we have 19 pieces here from what we would consider to be 4 different collections, if
Yep.
you will. So when you think about storytelling, is there a common story throughout this body here, or are there 4 separate stories? Talk to us a bit about the story that's happening here and where it's coming from.
You know, first of all, because of what I come from in isolation, and I spent a lot of time looking outward, and I guess my practice when it comes to that is really rooted in seeing beauty all the time. All the time. You know, I can't remember the last time I had a bad day. I really can't. And shit, I've been locked up in Central Bookings a couple times.
Here in
Here in New York. You know, and I can tell you a story. Long story short, because of the situation that I was in, somebody had me locked up, and you know, these attorneys come down looking for new clients, and I hadn't gotten in touch with my attorney yet, and now I'm talking to this guy, and he goes, "Yeah, listen, this is a violation of your order of protection because someone in my neighborhood, it's a crazy situation, and threw order of protection on me and several other men in the neighborhood." And so, this would have been a violation of that order of protection. And this guy goes, the attorney goes, this is a very conservative judge. You're probably going to get a $500 or a $1 million bond. I remember my feet feeling like they grew roots and went deep into the cement. Never experienced that feeling in my life before. And my hands felt like it became a part of the concrete because I was just like, holy shit, I'm not going nowhere. That was a very bad day, right? But then boom, my attorney got there, we were in front of the judge, boom, and I went out and I came home that night. It was a Sunday night, got picked up on Friday, came home that night. I remember smoking a joint in the tub, and I was just like, damn, that woman was right. She had told me months ago, I do have to get out of this neighborhood. And then that's when I moved up to 154th Street and started Rockville. Hey. You know, so I say all that to say I don't have really bad days, and a lot of it has to do with, you know, it's just a perspective that I got about moving forward, and there is something about the strength in anytime I have a subject, I see the beauty in us, especially us black folks. I see the beauty in us in kind of interesting ways, you know, and I know exactly what to look for, and I know kind of what direction I want them to look to capture the beauty that I see.
Are you seeing? Are you? Yeah. It's a what? Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out. Yeah, where was? Yeah. I was hearing music. Are you still hearing it? No. Okay. So when you're looking at those who are sitting for you, are you seeing the beauty that's present? Are you seeing the what is it?
The potential.
Yeah, I don't want to use the word potential,
okay.
but you know what I'm trying to
Yeah,
say.
yeah. It's almost like latent beauty. It's just there, but it's not out.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
like, are you doing both? Are you trying to capture what is, you know, authentically there, or are you trying to bring out something? And I ask that because you talk about as a child, everywhere around you except for your mother, you know, hearing you're not it,
Yeah.
and yet knowing that, you know, you were the bada, that you were better, you know, and I'm just, that's fascinating to me. And so I'm wondering, when you're looking at other people and taking shots of other people, is that present? How is that present?
You know, so you know, I think there's a part of me that just generally wants to see the good in all, because that's just the way I'm built. You know, because that's a part that I appreciate. You know, you know, like for instance, one of my favorite musicals is Les Mis. You know, you got Jean Valjean, who was this guy in prison, and then he makes it out, and he becomes this, you know, big guy, and then they get him, you know, as a guy that's after him. I understand that duality, that yin and yang in all of us, you know, but I also understand how some people see themselves in a way that doesn't allow all of their beauty to fully flourish. You know, it could be for emotional reasons. You got traumatic things. You know, we got people who live with a lot of weight. You know, but I can see an individual, like, you know, in a state that is free of all that. Like, they don't even know sometimes that it's there. And you know, in some of the shoots, you know, some of the subjects end up crying deeply because of, I think it's the uncovering of it, and some of the posing that I put him in, and oftentimes what I like to do is if I'm shooting you, I'm also I have a story in mind, and you know, I might tell you, hey, think about that time when you were a kid and you got in trouble with your parents for something you didn't do. Think about that injustice and think about how bad that felt. Yeah. And you'll see the person's face will change, because that's how, like how you feel about yourself is all over your body, all over your energy. And me, I just know how to pick that up. And so, you know, to directly answer your question, you know, I see kind of I see the yin and yang in many of us, and sometimes I can see where that person is with themselves, and you know, whether this is, have they tapped into all of that beauty of themselves fully. I know where they are. And sometimes in this
intuitively.
shoot, I can feel it. I can feel how much they're wrestling with it. You know, and sometimes in the way of it. And then we have this little conversation and this posing, and all of a sudden there's this release. And you could see it on their face. You could see their true essence on their face.
Thank you. You talked about storytelling, and starting out with the story that you want to tell, and I believe that part of your practice is traveling and collecting environments and then identifying the people to put in the environment, not necessarily finding the people that you want to shoot.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah. So when I'm on the scooter, when I'm in an Uber, when I'm in a different part of town, my eyes are always scanned. Some people probably looking at me like I'm a creep because I'm looking too much, probably. You know what I mean? You know, in New York, you're just supposed to be like this. And I just, you know, I want to see too much. You know, so anytime if I'm rolling by something, it's geocoded, and I know that, you know, and go back at the picture and I go, yeah, that little piece of wall right there is a piece of wall that I'll be able to use because I like that math. I like the texture. I like what it's saying.
So the environment informs the story. You may look at this wall. I mean,
Yeah.
and see something in this wall that speaks to a story that you want to
Yes.
tell. Is that correct?
Yes. I can look at a patch, like a patch of wall, and I can tell that that'll be rich in helping me tell a story. Story to be determined,
Okay.
because the full story happens when I marry that background with the subject.
Okay.
That's when the story's going to be told. And sometimes it's just a kind of I know a directional, I just know that, you put the right person in front of it and it can pop.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
I just know that. So I have no idea what kind of story, because I don't have a person in mind yet. But that's part of the creative process. I want to settle on the look, and then after we settle on the look, now I know where we're going to shoot.
Thank you. Let's talk about the use of the iPhone. And we all have an iPhone. What was the point at which you determined that that you using your iPhone was more than just, as what we all do, just snapping pictures, but that that you were creating real art, and that you were creating art that was worthy of hanging on a gallery wall, that was worthy of going in a book. Like, talk about that process.
Yeah,
And navigating, even classical photographers, if that's even the right word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, fortunately, I'm very ignorant to the world of photography, so I don't care about it. Someone goes, "Oh, this is fine." I don't even know the difference. I don't know the difference. I don't care. So I'm very ignorant to that. And even this might piss somebody off, but even when I came to New York, first, one of the big reasons I came to New York is to get better at things, at the things that I want to get better at, and writing, because I wanted to become a better storyteller. Writing was one, and I used to hear all the time, so Milton, what are you reading? I'm like, listen, because I was a kid adopted in South Korea. When I was 8 years old, I had never been to school. First time I started school when I was 9 years old, and that was in a new language, new culture, new everything. If you're not reading by the time you're 9 years old, you don't enjoy reading. You just don't, all right? So don't judge me. This doesn't mean that I don't enjoy acquiring knowledge and information. I just know how to get it without reading the book. So I say all that to say that when it comes to the iPhone 3 is when they really started to hype up the camera a little bit, and I used to be on BlackBerry.
Oh, yeah, remember BlackBerry?
Yeah, because I was busy writing the memoir with the BlackBerry, and then they started to hype up the camera. That's when I got the iPhone. But I came to New York to train. In the way that I know how to train. I believe in practice. Ex-college football player. I was a captain. All that kind of stuff, right? I value training, and so when I got the iPhone and I started taking pictures, I was just like, you're not as good as you thought you were. You need to train. So, and the iPhone for me was, it's in the pocket. It's accessible. It's right there. And me, I look too much like police to be walking around the streets of New York trying to shoot motherfuckers on the corner. Because everybody thought I was police in my neighborhood. Everybody thought that it was a thing. One dude said, "I see you in Queens being FBI." And I told him, I said, "Next time you see me in Queens, come ask me what time it is." So it was between iPhone 3 when I started I'd say it was about iPhone 5 when I started to feel like I kind of was getting a good sense of what I was doing. I started to kind of bridge the gap between the stories that I saw that was happening on the street to capturing those stories. And then my first muse came along, which was my son Miles.
Yeah.
You know, once he hit the scene, and he's kind of a, you know, he's in some ways, I don't know, this is projection, but it almost seemed like he knew that I wasn't going to be around. He knew, because he always seemed very solemn and sad, you know, but then he'd come with me and he'd light up. So there was something there. And like I said, that's probably projection, because me and his mother, we weren't together and we had a lot of issues. But you know, the weekends that I had him, you know, it was a beautiful life, you know, and him being my muse, I'm just like, and you know, and I think there was a part of me that said that, you know, I got to document as much as I can with him. You know, because he's not going to be around, because I knew some things. So, you know, so him being my muse, I was just getting a lot of reps shooting, and he's the perfect model because he doesn't care. You know, he just, and he takes instruction really well. Miles, stand right there and look up. Click, click. But then, you know, but I'm, you know, like there's the piece when he's looking for the train, for the incoming train. One of the things that you can tell is he's very far from the edge, because he knew, Daddy told him, never get close to the edge.
Right.
I want you at least 6 feet away from that edge. And he listens to me well, you know? And so for him to be leaning the way he is, and he's got this little lollipop, and he's looking for his favorite thing, which are trains. You know, I got a massive body of work just capturing gems with my son. You know, so I say all that to say that you know, right around iPhone 5 is when I started to feel like I was capturing the stories. I still had a lot to learn because I needed to be quicker. And so sometimes I would just be on the train and I'd see something and I'd you know, like I said, it's like high noon, just boom, boom. And sometimes, and then what I would do, I would train that thing of being able to shoot video or take a shot without looking at it and seeing how, you know, how good am I at finding the right angle. If I'm seeing something over here, can I, boom, take that shot and capture it? You know, so my relationship to, you know, to the mechanics of it, can I do it blind? You know, so there are many, I don't know, this is probably, it might even be obsessive, I don't know. But, you know, there were things that I'm practicing all the time to get handy with this. But because like I said, I'm ignorant to this. I was at a coffee shop and the barista put me on to how I can make the files bigger and do this with lighting and all that. I was like, thank you very much. I appreciate that. You know what I mean? Because I don't know any of it and don't care.
Was there one photo in particular that's like, okay, this is it. I got this. I can do this. Because you started the conversation by saying that that you realized that some of the photos that you were doing are better than what you saw out there. Yeah. So was there one that was like, okay, I can.
There is. Well, it's not part of this body of work, even though it's my son. It's not part of this body of work because I had shown it before. And there is and it's my son Miles on the train platform, and he's shot from the back, and he's looking out. And this is at West 4th on the A train, and you see the background of across the platform, all these people turning this way because the train is coming, but he's looking straight. And then all of the, he's got a white t-shirt on, black pants, and there is green and yellows in the background, which, I'm very, like I said, I'm kind of the ignorant artist, but Norman Rockwell was one of the few artists early on that caught my eye, because I thought his storytelling was solid, dynamic, but subtle, and he just, he rendered, kind of everyday life.
Yeah, I know the shot you're talking about. I love that shot.
Yeah, and I felt that shot was confirmation for me that I had leveled up.
Yeah.
And I felt like, and now I was just like, how often can I recreate quality like that?
Yeah.
And then I ran into my second muse right around then, which was Jackie Lee.
Okay.
She's a fellow Korean adoptee, and she's an absolute rock star. If she came in here, you could be in the bathroom and you could feel the energy change in the room. She's one of those kind of folks. And not only is she beautiful outside, but she's got this motherly beauty thing that's something. And because we have the relationship that we do, I could hit her up any day of the week. And if she's a high flying model now, but if she's here, like, we can do this, and she'll help me practice. And she loves putting pieces together. So she's doing her art, and she loves how I capture her. So we're doing our art, and I'm snapping away, so I'm doing my art. You know what I mean? So it's just a perfect scenario. Muse number one, muse number two, and then my third muse was Omo Misha, Misha McGowan, out of Detroit and Harlem. Because she's just got that thing, and it's magic, and we cool like that, and she's in the book.
Excellent.
I don't think I answered your question, but yeah.
No, you did. You did. You get there, and you hear other things. Afrofuturism. You talk about Afrofuturism in your work. It's a term that we're hearing a lot of late. How are you defining it? To me, Afrofuturism is it's black folks without the oppression. We're free to be. We're free to be as lively as we are. But it's also a strong rendering of, I think our essence. Like I said, when I was a kid in Korea, I literally thought that black people somehow knew how to have more fun than white people. That's literally what I thought. Just because their smiles were bigger, they always seemed like they were having more fun. It was just more vibrant. I didn't. Yeah. So that's just what I thought, and then growing up in this, I think there's just a certain kind of magic and melanin that, that's just, I don't know, some of that is true. Yeah.
To me, and I like I said, I'm not putting my stamp on this, or nobody get on me about this, and Milton, you're racist, reverse racist, whatever, I don't care, But so to me, what Afrofuturism is a free us, able to be, and to be as vibrant as we are. And I think there's a because of this little magic that we got, there's a style that comes with it, this flavor that comes with it, and I'm just trying to catch that. And to me, if caught properly, you can get struck by it, and you can be inspired by it, and you could do something new because of it.
Yeah.
You know, or you can see the story, and you can make up your, you know, own little scenes of that story. But at the end of the day, it will move you, because that's the power of blackness.
Yeah.
You know, so and yeah, you know, like this one here, you know, so this shoot for Ruth Carter, the overarching theme she told me is Afrofuturism. We got busy with it because we satisfied all those check boxes with every shot, and you know, this looks very futuristic. You don't know what year this could be, type thing. You know what I mean? You don't know that she's at a lobby of a hotel. You know what I mean? You know, this looks, you know, very much kind of in the future, but left to be, you know, in all of us, you know, good, bad, and indifferent. All of us, every bit of us.
Thank you. So somebody, a common question of guests has been, are these photos shot with the camera and that's it? Or are you doing something else? Are you doing something to pop the color? Are you doing something to pop the background? Can you talk about
the exact process? So I use a free app called Adobe Photoshop Express. It's different now because you can do like Photoshop. You can touch up an item now. But when these were shot, it was all global changes. Global changes meaning, you know, you can turn up the clarity on it and it kind of makes it look kind of comic booky a little bit. You can amp up saturation and all that. But you know, it's what you can do in the photo app, you know, basically. I just like the interface of Adobe Photoshop Express. And sometimes I'll go heavy on saturation of color just to make it pop, you know. But yeah, it's a free app and anybody can do it. I know if I can do it, like because once you know, like you know, I don't open no package and start reading the directions. That ain't me, you know. So if I can't get it intuitively, it ain't happening.
Thank you. Tell us about the photo with the gentleman there is one of my favorite photos. There are many favorite photos here, but this is one of my favorite photos. Yeah. And you were telling me an interesting story about that photo, if you want to share.
Yeah, you know, that's definitely an example of you know, when I was talking about seeing the beauty in us.
Yeah.
You know, I remember this was probably maybe 10 or 12 years ago. I was wearing that Fitbit, right? So I was getting my steps in. And in a 24-hour span, my highest step total was 37,500 steps, which ends up being like a marathon. It was like 26 miles. It was crazy. But my day started by being out the previous night, you know, drinking with friends, and then, you know, running around town. And by the time I went home that night, I done already had, you know, 13,000 steps. So anyway, I'm walking everywhere. And this particular day, you know, I had a little clip in my mouth. I'm smoking on some weed, walking down Lenox, going like, man, you in Harlem. Because I get that feeling a lot. And it's a feeling that not only, you know, spurns me and moves me, but it is constant affirmation of me being where I'm supposed to be. And I love that feeling, right? And I'm walking down Lenox and I'm approaching Red Rooster. And this is, you know, early days of Red Rooster. And right outside of Red Rooster, my man was out sitting just like that with his camera. And two of his homeboys were opening up the table, putting the tablecloth on because they was going to sell whatever they selling, you know. It's like I said, this is 100, you know, 26 at Lenox. And I see him, and he's clean. And he's just waiting on the crowd. But the beauty that I see is just, and I'm also practicing at the moment the art of stopping somebody. And then it's not just stopping somebody to shoot them, but stopping them and capturing what I saw, right? So you got to stop them and tell them not to move. You know, when you tell them, and then they move, and I'm like, damn, you just fucked it up. You know what I mean? So how do you, so that's you got to be able to finesse that when you're doing street photography. And he don't care if I was a cop. You know what I mean? The dudes in the hood, they care. But so I roll up to him and I go, excuse me, man, can I shoot you? He goes, he looks at me and looks at the camera like, you see, I'm the one who does the shooting, and I kind of see his reluctance, and I'm like, let me just go. I said, listen, this shot is going to be the dopest shot of you taken ever. He literally laughs out loud. And I don't know if his boy over here is named Leroy, but he goes, Leroy! My man talking about he gonna shoot me and it's gonna be, what you said, the dopest, huh? The dopest ever. And they go, here you are, they're over there doing the thing. He said, well, where's your camera, man? I said, and he got one of these iPhones. So go ahead, man, go ahead. What you want me to do? I said, listen, just sit just like that, look right over there. Boom. And I got down low in front of the camera because I got, part of it all was the camera and him in the camera. Mm-hmm. So the camera's got to be in the shot, and it's got to be prominent. Mm-hmm. So I got close to the camera, boom, he's leaning back, boom. But, because it's his iPhone, he don't know nothing about this because he got to go home with the vinegar water and all that kind of thing and do all that with his camera, So I take the next 15 seconds to touch up the photo, and I show it to him. My man leapt up out of his seat like this, Leroy! And so they got ooh and an on, right? God damn, looking at me. And so he said, man, can I get this? I said, I got you, right? But he gave me the wrong number. So I sent it to the wrong number. It wasn't until a year and a half later, I was walking down that block, and I hear, hey, but it's, 250 and Linux, I'm not even turning, hey. And he come grab me on my shoulder. I said, yo, man. He go, man, you the guy that took the picture. Yeah. I go, yeah, man, how you doing? Yeah, man, listen here. Hey, Leroy's still over there. He come over. He said, man, I never got that photo because I gave you the wrong number. And we couldn't find you. So we try to recreate the picture. And he pulls it up. And he shows me, he go, it ain't yours though. Yeah. And then I was able to send it to him. Yeah. And not only that, but there was another Harlem artist who does a lot of quilts. She's since moved down to Houston. Yeah. Her name is Aramika Brown. And she's doing these quilts, and she did a quilt off of this and won second place in this big thing down in Texas. Yeah, so that's how that shot came about. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you.
Him and Leroy.
I have been, I don't even know what the time is, it's 3:05. It's just been a tremendous pleasure, all the conversations that you and I have had, and just so many stories that there isn't time enough here to tell. But before I ask any more questions, I want to open the floor up to any questions that you all might have. And thank you for what you've shared so far.
Oh, wow, thank you.
Has anybody they didn't like the photo?
No, that's fortunately that's never happened to me. Yeah, I always say, I don't know, maybe this is my ego, but I feel it. I go, if I'm shooting you, it's going to be the dopest. And part of it is because it's going to be different. You know, and I think, and that's a part of me that I've embraced. You know, I was always considered different. So I'm going to flip that shit. You know, I'm going to lean into that. You know, and I remember as a result of that, I was flying into Havana, and I was going in to shoot an artist, and it was my, this shot was the first shot that I sold a piece for 10 grand. But as I was, on the approach into Havana, my feeling was, I want to pull the dopest photo ever pulled out of Havana. And I felt like I could because I had that. It was going to be different. It was, this beautiful photography and capturing of all the life and the essence of Havana, right? But to me, they all look the same. To me, they're kind of telling the same thing, but no one has done what I think the shot that I pulled out. No one has done that. So yeah, I always feel like I kind of have an edge because it's going to be different. Yeah.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes.
Hi, I didn't hear the beginning. Hi, I'm Gwen Black, artist.
Oh,
All right.
Gwen.
All right.
Good to see you.
My question is, when did you first discover your passion for photography? Did you do other art forms and then slowly evolve into photography? What was your process?
Yeah. It was, I think I was a creative since I was a kid. Like I said, being black in South Korea and being isolated the way that I was. Like I said, my creations were, confirmation for me that I had value because I was able to create the way that I was. And I just knew that my creations were sound. But I was really a drawer and a sketcher, when I was a kid. Now, there was a time in which I was, let me see, I must have been a sophomore in high school in Indianapolis, Indiana. I was practicing drawing, like, I guess realism, and I remember I had a brand new pair of shoes, these Filas, and I sat them. I thought they were so cool looking. I sat there and I just sketched it out, right? And during that time, I was practicing shading, right? And I would do it with my fingers and then erase some stuff, and so it's within the contours of the lines. And then I took it to my mother, and I go, Mom, look at my drawing. She go, you traced that. And I remember it broke me. I was like, no, I drew this, And then later on, I had to show her that this is where I was. And she was like, wow. And then she took this different and taken to me just on the art tip. But I got adopted into a very artistic family. The original kids, Don, Donna, Darren, and Dwayne, all artists. All of them. And super smart. 3 went to Northwestern, and the other one's a Stanford MBA. Not off some, football scholarship shit like me, you know what I mean? They were bona fide top 99% percentile on the ACT, and all that. So I've always been a creative, and but anytime that I saw photography, I just always felt that I can do better, and particularly, I just felt that a lot of photography, and this is to me, I don't mean nothing in this, but I just felt that the storytelling wasn't so strong. That might just mean that, I don't know, maybe I'm low quality artist, you know what I mean? Like I'm almost, it's, maybe I'm really obvious, maybe, with my storytelling, and it's, almost elementary, maybe, but that kind of storytelling, my kind of storytelling, um, I'm more attracted to than the super subtle storytelling. You know, you got to kind of tell me what the fuck is going on sometimes, you know. And I like to be able to see it, and I like to be able to create my own stories around a piece of art. And I think to me that's just one of the ways that I know good art. When you see it, you feel it, and you can see the story in it. To me, you know. But I'm sure not everybody, abides by those principles.
Any other questions? Yes.
Certainly, but part of what is so compelling about your work is the color stories and the saturation. I'm just curious of do you feel like you've had a consistent relationship with specific colors of it means certain things, or you have patterns of the ways that you're drawn to it, or the combinations, or is that dynamic for you?
I like that question. I'll tell you this. I'd say, to me, it's just, color is such, it's it's very pervasive within our life. You see it all the time, right? And sometimes there can be a story that's told in the moment that's just right. This color over here, there's the blues over here, and then the greens over here that's balanced with this. For me, color is one of the key elements of storytelling, just as shapes and forms are in the math. I know, within this display of works here, much of this was some years ago when I shot it, and I think I was really experimenting and kind of pushing then. I think I've dialed back a little bit now, but sometimes I just think that it's just an easy way to tell story with color that pops. And combinations matter, and weight matters. And then for me, texture also matters, as well as the math. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Yes. I'm sorry?
Can I also ask what high school you went to, because I'm from Indiana?
Oh, word. Lawrence Central in Indianapolis. Where'd you go?
Fort Wayne. I'm from
Fort Wayne Snyder?
Homestead.
Homestead, okay, yeah. Fort Wayne had a lot of ballers, yeah. Yeah, you guys had a lot of great athletes. Yeah.
Not like Indiana.
Well, I'm just saying we had a bigger situation, but for a small town, there was a high concentration of athletes because it was Fort Wayne Snyder that was doing really well when my high school was doing. There's 4 of us that went D1 out of my school in my class, including me. Yeah.
Any other questions? Yes.
Yeah, I'm actually curious about how do you think about the relationship between a creator and their tools? Because what strikes me is everything from your story from when you were a kid. You talk about how you didn't have access to toys, but you made your own. And you sit and crafted them. Your story about how you did the sketch. Even the iPhone, like I said, if you think about the respect you have for the process you're describing, everything you did to get proficiency to a level most people never get to. I think about teenage engineering, it's German brand, where they talk about this idea of they only make things when they feel like you can add to the conversation.
Yeah.
But when they get to that point, one of the founders here was saying I'm still playing the piano. I think he's been playing the piano for 8 years.
Yeah.
He's I haven't mastered it. I think there's something we can do better.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is yet.
Yeah.
But when I figure it out, I'll know.
Yeah.
And maybe I'll never figure it out. But
Yeah.
there's that respect, right, of we'll go in and understand the thing, whether it's sound culture in Jamaica. But we will go and understand the thing and have respect for it, and if there's something to add, we will. But if there isn't, there's something to.
Yeah.
But anyway, it just strikes me almost in all the tools you pick up, you have this respect, you have this craft, you take your time, and so maybe in some ways it's less about the iPhone and more about how you see tools. So anyway, I'm just curious.
Yeah, thanks for that question because it starts off with this general attitude that I have um, or a knowing that I have. Most of the answers you need are actually in front of you. You just got to know how to put it together. You know, this thing that I'm doing, Rock Mill Fitness, it was, the founder was a creative, not a fitness guy. I had terrible knees. I was bone on bone. I needed double knee replacement surgery, which would have been my fifth knee surgery. I just wasn't trying to do that at the age of 48 because you got to start getting new knees. You burn them out and you get new. And then I had seen how double knee replacement surgery cut down the strongest person I'd ever known, which is my father. And it had cut him down. And if it did that to him, I wanted no parts of that. And sure enough, there was a stool right in front of my face. Yeah, I kind of saw it because I was smoking and all that, you know what I mean? But, you know, that was, so I have this attitude of, before I even start talking about the thing that I need that I can't get and spending energy moaning and groaning about something I ain't got, I'd rather spend that energy on what's around that I can put together so I can solve my problem. Right? So, you know, because of my kind of, you know, my little learning disability, I just wasn't going to pick up a camera and start talking nerd with other dudes about, you know, f-stop and down the lighting. I'm not interested in that, you know, because I have a overwhelming need to express. And that's the priority. I just want to express. And whatever tools I got around that can help me do that, I'm going to just treat that as a tool. I want to master it to a degree, but because I'm so involved in other things and there's other parts of my life that I'm trying to get off the ground and get going, I don't have the time to get caught up too much. And I trust my ability to create a practice around it and to be honest with myself and to get better at the areas that I need to get better at. And only kind of keep an ear open for the right kind of critique that's just going to make me better. You know, because listen, as a writer of a memoir, you know, I'm going to tell you this. As a creative in general, you can't listen to everybody. Because you'll mess around and have the wrong person say something that really stings you, and sometimes you can't recover. You need to be able to filter. But keep your, you know, like I had a conversation with Sandra. Sandra made me better yesterday. We had a conversation about speaking. You know, and what she said, I'm like, yeah, I've always known that. You know, and it's good to have people around you that you trust and who have authority. You know, when they offer you something, you take it and process it and do what you need. But me, I'm trying to be as good as I can be. You know, and I know how I learn. But I also know the flip side in which I know how potent my practice can be when I get into something. So I don't care about the tool. But this doesn't mean that there's not value in knowing the tool, you know, like an expert, you know. Me, I got to do jazz because it's the way I got to do it. You know what I mean? Yeah, I put a bigger priority on, you know, kind of where I kind of fall short in that area of expertise. And this is what I do to supplement so I can still produce.
Thank you. Question over here.
I have a question. If you answer it, we could about it later. But you talk about the need for expression. Is there a pressing need right now? Is there something, a subject matter, even another medium, another tool that you feel is, you know,
Well, put it this way, I am in the process of looking to express kind of a lot of what I know, me being so isolated in South Korea, but not being so traumatized by that because of the insulating effect of my mother. And then, my sense of self. I remember, me and Joe, after we got adopted.
Joe being your brother.
My brother Joe, yeah. My brother Joe, who was also just in the same orphanage. We're not blood brothers, but we ended up getting adopted together. I remember this, because I went through what I went through, I can't allow injustice to happen to somebody else, in my view, right? So, me and Joe, we get adopted, and some kid is getting pushed around on the playground. We gonna come check you, you pushing some kid around on the playground because he's smaller than you, like, we're gonna come check you because that's injustice, and, when we see that, we stand up. Right, and I have a very strong vein of that spirit in me. I feel like I know some things. I know some things that, it's interesting because it's, sometimes I find myself saying, this is what I be telling black folks, because I don't come.
What do you mean by that?
Well, this is what I'm saying. So, because I wasn't born in America, so I'm not encumbered by everything that an African American would be encumbered by because of what racism has done to them, and the environment that's here. I got a different kind of racism, but it's just a different brand, right? And I go, and plus, racism is like the rain. It rains everywhere.
Say a little bit more about that. And the reason I'm asking you to say a little bit more about that, because despite your cultural background, you look black. You're going to be subject to the same,
Sure.
Yeah.
I'll be treated like a black man,
right.
Just like I am, yeah.
So break down a little further for me what you mean about not being subject to the same experiences.
Well, just to be clear, what I'm saying is, I came from a different experience. My whole world
until you were 10.
Yeah, until I was 10.
Yeah.
Right. And what I'm saying about that is simply, I wasn't born into this society, and I didn't learn all the things that you need to learn as black folks here in this country.
Okay.
I didn't learn that, right?
Okay.
I didn't learn that. And because I didn't learn that, I don't have the same ties to the things that you need to know. Now, I quickly found out, coming to America, how America sees you and views you and treats you. From people locking doors to clutching purses and all that.
Yeah.
And I'm not even going to tell you how many times I've been arrested, because I've been a black man in Chicago, Indianapolis, and all this. And so I know the condition.
Yeah.
But this is. So I think the thrust of what I'm trying to say is this. Racism is real. It's out there. It's all day, every day. The way I look at it is, like I said, it's like the rain. It's as natural as the rain. It just comes in different varieties depending on where you're at, different dynamics, right? And I also know the hypocrisy in racism. I also know the dualities in racism. And when I say the dualities in racism is, one of the dualities of racism is, because this country is, because people, societies, you could be you could be living in a situation, you could be living in America as a black person, and you have to subject yourself to all of the forces of this racist society. The question to me becomes, well, what do you do about that? Mm-hmm. Me, I want to be happy. Mm-hmm. I'm not trying to carry all the weight that this society wants to put on me. Mm-hmm. I'm not trying to do that, because you will lose it if you allow this society to put all the pressures that they want to put on you.
Do you feel a responsibility, though, as an artist, with your photography, to respond, or am I hearing you say that, you know, that's not your thing? Your thing is to focus on joy or whatever.
So I say it's more the latter, and this is why. My thing is, this country, you know, I tell us all the time. I'm like, don't trip if you're white on this, but white people gonna do what they gonna do because they've been doing it forever. Mm-hmm. You know, one of the things that I see here is, you know, every time there's, you know, some big thing happens, right? You know, black folks, you almost can't, and I wonder about how everybody else experiences on this, but socially as a black person, it's hard to be hanging out with your peoples. And when I say hanging out, not out, you know, at the bar or something, but hanging with your peeps at home or in the neighborhood, having dinner. And that conversation not get to race. We end up talking about race.
Like we are now.
A lot, because we got to. Mm-hmm. Because we're always subjected to this environment. Mm-hmm. Now, so if you find yourself having to talk about all of the racial issues all the time, that also means you're not spending time talking about other things. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Other things could be all sorts of other things, just like any other human being. You could, things that you're into, and And we're just talking about, this don't mean that you're not spending time at all, right? There's an opportunity cost that's involved with being black in America. Mm-hmm. And that opportunity cost is, we almost have to be preoccupied with race. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's pervasive. Mm-hmm. But me, what I'm talking about is, I take this as a given. We're in a racist society, the motherfuckers don't like us, and they keep fucking with us. That's, you know, that's a very crass way to put it. It's raining outside, right? But instead of me putting my energy on everything that they do, and by the way, I'm not saying that doesn't have to be confronted. Mm-hmm. You need soldiers on the street to confront their blatant injustice. Mm-hmm. But I rather, instead of having 100 soldiers out in the street, I'd rather put 30 soldiers on that job and 70 soldiers come back inside to build. That's what I want to do. I want to spend those resources on me building myself, me building my community, me directly addressing some of those issues that keep us apart.
Got it.
You know, a lot of us, maybe y'all have some different experiences, but a lot of us deep down inside, we don't be trusting each other.
Got it.
We don't. We really don't. And there are many folks who, I ran into one of my peeps earlier today, and we were talking about gentrification. One of the ways you can fight gentrification, one of the ways, by the way, is, put it this way, one of the ways you fight gentrification is you individually get your money right. And not only you individually getting your money right, but you help your community get the money right. Because gentrification, a lot of it is about the money. And the power of big money coming in and forcing people without money out. That is what gentrification is. A lot of it just has to be, it's us because we're the ones who do not have. because of this system that we're in. But we need to fortify us. I'd rather spend energy and time and effort on building us rather than crying about them. That's my bottom line.
Got it.
I got a question.
Yeah.
Yes. And then I think,
You grew up in Korea. You
Yeah.
were born in Korea. You spent your first 10 years in Korea. Is that correct?
Yes.
So how did you come to your realization of being black in a place like Korea, where I feel like there might be limited experiences of blackness or black?
Well, I didn't have any kind of counterpart until I saw black soldiers for the first time. And that was at the age of 6. Yeah. And then I got adopted at 8 by my black family. And then after that, then I'm living on military housing, which is all kind of a little bit of everybody. Black families, white families, mixed families. I'm like, yeah, this sounds cool. And then, boom, in 1980, moved to Fort Sill, Indiana, which is in Lawton, Oklahoma. Yeah, and then now I got family. We got family in Oklahoma. We got family in Texas. Now we're going to family reunions, and I see all of us. Yeah.
So a lot of your time was spent in country, rural areas. Then I heard you say Chicago. So as you are right now as an adult, have you identified with the vastness of black culture from city to rural?
Oh, definitely.
And
Yeah.
how do you make sense of it? Like, I always say black is a social construct. It's not really like something.
Yeah, but black culture and blackness, we're different in different parts of the region of the U.S. and the world and all that, But I think differences are cool and to be celebrated, me, I just got to think for us, and because of what I've been through, I have a perspective on approach to life that I think is the most freeing. And at the end of the day, that's the magic word for me, is freedom. And part of freedom for me is not having to be preoccupied with them. They're not taking space in my mind or my heart because I'm focused on us. I want a kumbaya. And I think that is a decision. Do you want to spend time, having to deal with them and whiteness in this society? I'm like, geez, I'm just saying, ain't none of this like they might have said it was fake news before, but it's all out in the open now. It's not even, you don't even have to, this is not even a debate. So for me, I'm like this, even now with, Trump and these doing what they do, I'm like, me, just individually. And, I think you can almost kind of extrapolate this out to a community too, in terms of approach. But me, I'm going, okay, I gotta make sure I got some cash on hand just in case some shit goes down. That's important. You might have to run, you might have to move, right? You better be ready for that. If you're not ready for that, that's you already game over, right? So you better be ready. You better get that money right? And then you better have community. And community, and when shit goes crazy, community is a very specific word because it's about resources. I know a lot of business owners. I be talking to other bosses all day, every day. And let me tell you what, a lot of black bosses, man, when this shit go down, I'm gonna be good. We gonna be good. They got weapons, they got some cash, and they got a plan. Some of them even got a rendezvous spot up in Poughkeepsie.
I think that's a perfect time.
Yeah.
I think it's a perfect time. Is there anybody else have a question? Comment? Okay. I think that's a perfect time to bring the conversation to a close. I'm very, very grateful for your generosity and being able to have this conversation with you. And I'm thankful to everybody here who's in attendance. You know, one of the things that I read online that I think it's helpful for all of us to consider is, you know, that, and depending upon, you know, where you are in your life, you may have asked the question, you wondered what you would be doing during the civil rights movement. You wondered what you would be doing, how you would respond during the 60s. And the statement was that how you are responding now is how you would respond.
That's it.
And so I think that's something interesting for all of us to reflect on, to consider how art was used for activism during that time. And if you're an artist, to consider what you get to do or you don't get to do, you know, with your art. One of the things I think that Milton will be with us here for another 30 minutes or so, or more. Our doors are open until 6 o'clock today, but Milton has built a whole community around Rock Mill. It's a community that is designed to build community, that it's built around the indigenous fitness practice, Rock Mill. It's built to encourage, incubate and encourage the preeminence of creativity, creative thinking, opportunity, connection. So I encourage you, if you are looking for community or want to extend your community, to have a conversation with Milton about that, as well as, again, about the fitness practice. And I think we didn't get a chance to get into this, but I think if you look at the work, that there's a relationship between the discipline and intentionality that is a part of fitness and the way that you approach your work, which is a conversation that I would love to explore if we, you know, if we had more time.
Yeah.
So thank you everyone, you know, for being here. All of the work.
All right. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. I'd be remiss as a commercial gallery if I didn't say that all of the work is for sale. The prices are there. We do payment plans if you need that. If you're interested in an image, but you would like to see it in a different size, Milton is willing to print at different sizes.
Yep.
But again, you know, thank you. Thank you for being here.
All right. Thank you.
Feel free.
Thank you so much.